Alright, people, review of the week time. So, going out, it's actually nice because it's a Sunday here. It's about 7:30 on a Sunday evening here in London. And I get bank holiday tomorrow because I still do an Irish contract. So, what was a bank holiday for you guys last week is now a bank holiday for me this week. So, it's nice. I get to kind of it's a nice chill video. It's a nice chill way to end the weekend. It's been a good weekend. It's been a good weekend. We've obviously got to talk with Charlo and Plant and, that show. But we're going to start review of the week. Very sad news. So Mike McCallum, the body snatcher, three-weight world champion. I think he would have been 1956. So he would have been about 68, 69. Passed away today. I love the body snatcher. Some of his knockouts, he was phenomenal. Maybe possibly one of, if not the best to come out of Jamaica, because I'm pretty sure Mike McCallum was Jamaican, if I'm not mistaken. And you know what? I'm nearly sure I was only looking at, Kingston, Jamaica. I'm nearly sure I was only looking at a couple of his fights there a couple of weeks back, just thinking, oh man, McCallum was so good. Because remember the knockout he did of Donald Curry. And he fought the likes of Jackson. I think he fought Steve Collins as well. And probably would have been the early 90s. But man, McCallum was something else. He was a tremendous talent. And again, it's weird because Mike McCallum and George Foreman, they both passed obviously this year, but by kind of age, they're still not that old. Now I don't know if Mike McCallum was sick or anything like that. I don't know the cause of that. I'm just saying that he passed. But it's really crap because you think of these guys as kind of like, they've gone through it all. They've been in the ring, they've been in wars, they've given it all. And you kind of think like, oh God, he only lived to be 68, 69, and George Foreman, you think it's still a reasonably long life. Poor Georgia O'Connor was only 25. She passed away last week. But it's still sad. Condolences go out to his immediate friends and family, of course. The body snatcher, he was quality. He really truly was. So we start with a bit of sad news on that, and we now segue into a review of last night's show, or certainly the fights I've seen. Really, the only two fights I've seen were Charlo versus Thomas Lemanin. It was what it was for Charlo. When I seen Lemanin on the scales, I was like, no, no, he's not gonna. I didn't see him troubling Charlo at all. Charlo's now 35 years old, and it's been he fought Derevchenko nearly 5 years ago now. That was a good performance in offense. It really was. It was a good performance by Charlo. Then he fought Juan Montiel in 21. 2.5 years out of the ring, Benavidez, and now this. It's not ideal. I don't know how much of a prime Charlo we have now, to be honest with you, because Charlo in his prime was useful. I always said this about the Charlos. This is the funny thing, right? And I've said this. You can go back and watch videos of mine. I always said this. I always felt that Jamal was more talented than Jamel. Although Jamel has ended up having... Well, yeah, he was undisputed at 154 pounds, although he's fallen off the radar as well now. But Jamal was always my favourite. Jamel could punch, but it was really only... Like, if you ever watched Jamel early on in his career, he wasn't really sitting down a lot of shots. It's only when he kind of fought... what was the guy's name now? I can't remember his name. He fought Triple G. After that fight, it escapes me. But then he started knocking guys out, whereas Jamal was always a problem. At least certainly in his prime. How much of that we have left now, I don't know. The big talk was him and Charlo and Plant share the card. They both win, and then they both fight in the future. And I think both guys, the opponents were handpicked, so they would both win. And Charlo did. Charlo and Plant certainly didn't. He lost a split decision. I don't know how that was split. Armando Recinez, he beat the living... Well, I would say beat the living crap out of Charlo and Plant, but he certainly beat him well. There was no disputing who won this fight by the end, so that's why to hear it announced a split decision. Head scratcher, to say the least. Charlo and Plant was outworked. He was out jabbed, I thought. He was hurt a couple of times with right hands. More than one occasion, actually. Nearly went down around number 6. And yeah, just was completely bullied in there. He looked old. He looked faded, but he's not that old, Caleb Plant. Even in terms of an elite fighter, or certainly someone who's operating at world level, and he's been at world level for many years now. He doesn't. It's weird, As I said, Anthony Yarde is older, but wear and tear, I guess, and he's been in there with the likes of Canelo. Now gave him a bit of a beating, as did Benavidez. Maybe it's wear and tear of all those fights, but apparently there's a rematch clause in place for this particular fight. I don't know. I mean, I know you want to do and try and salvage the Charlo fight, but fight like that to lose in that sort of manner, I don't know how you're going to beat him in the rematch. I really don't. As I said, with probably a bad analogy was using Jaime Munguia, but let's say Dylan White when he fought Povetkin. First time winning, handy, gets caught with an uppercut, big mistake on his behalf, and then he rights the wrong in the rematch. It wasn't him being outboxed, being beaten up or anything like that. It was you made a catastrophic mistake, you were punished for it, you didn't do it the second time. So, when that happens, mentally it's obviously got to be a big head something to get back from that. But if all right, I know what I need to do, just don't do this, then you're all right. Whereas I don't know how you come back from that. I really don't. You were beaten from pillar to post in this fight, to be honest with you. So they were the only 2 fights that I actually seen on the card. I didn't really have a look at anything else on the undercard. There wasn't really much else to really speak of on said undercard. So there was that. In terms of, let's do a quick preview, because I'll tell you why. Tomorrow night, I am going to do a full preview and prediction video for Fabio Wardley versus Justis Huni. But let's just give some 2 cents on it, because I'm really actually quite keen on this card. Because when I look at the actual undercard, Dylan White I'm a bit worried about, a bit skeptical about that, because I have heard rumours, people saying that, he's maybe going to pull out of this one. Well, if he does, he's got less than a week to do it. But he's still got TBA. Now, we know Frank Warren, him and TBA are, they're like that. But normally they're not like that on fight week. So it is a bit of a worry, especially Dylan White, because you would imagine he would be high up the card, if not co-maining. So you kind of wonder about that. Sam Gilly, he was meant to be in there against, is it Louis Green? I thought they were meant to have a rematch. He's now fighting a guy who is 7-5 with no knockout wins. He's going to get absolutely annihilated by Sam Gilly in there, 110%. I was sure that it was meant to be him against Louis Green again, Louis Green. I'm surprised about that. I didn't hear anything of a pullout, but Pierce O'Leary versus Liam Dillon, that'll be actually a really good scrap. That's for the full European, the EBU 140 pound title, as well as the WBC international title. I'd rather the EBU title. I'd much rather that. That'll be a good fight. Liam Dillon he's a bit on the limited side, but he does come to give it a go. He comes to win. Pierce O'Leary, I've been liking what I've been seeing with him lately. We also have Stephen Ward against Mike Perez. That should actually be a decent scrap. Stephen Ward got a win. I think that was on the undercard, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was, of Tommy McCarthy, Lewis Crooker, where he beat up, and he did. It was hard to watch. He beat up but completely shot to bits Tommy McCarthy. I think the two of them were mates as well. McCarthy was completely shot to bits. He shot the bits years ago. He shot the bits when he fought CBS in 21. So it's 25 now. So, I mean, there you go. So he's fighting Mike Perez. Mike Perez is an interesting one because Perez is now 39 years old. But he's well preserved for 39. I mean, he's been in shape for years now. He's been campaigning a cruiserweight for years now. And he still has a little bit of something there. When he fought Myris Briedis back in 2017, it's a long time ago. He did well in that fight, and he was felled a lot. Myris Briedis was allowed to get away with a lot of holding in that fight. A lot. It wasn't a good performance by him at all. That was in Riga in Latvia. And before that, obviously, Perez had fought Povetkin in 2015. He was stopped in a round. Apparently, he was under the influence of alcohol in that fight. Povetkin was certainly under the influence of something, and that was making him look like Mr. Universe. Brian Jennings, I remember that fight, actually. That was on HBO, actually. That was, whose undercard was that on? It was on Triple G versus Daniel Gill. I knew it was on a HBO card, I just didn't know which one. It was an MSG. It was actually a decent scrap, to be fair. Him against Brian Jennings, if you've never seen it. I think there was a point deduction for Perez that pretty much won it for Brian Jennings, basically. And that actually made Jennings. I think it was a WBC final eliminator, if I'm not mistaken, but he ended up facing Klitschko instead I think in MSG in 2015. So a bit of a fun one there. But yeah, long and the short of it, I think that Mike Perez should be beating Stephen Ward. He's always been a bit limited. He was a 175 pounder for a long time. Cruiserweight, he's looked big, but not anything spectacular. And obviously, we get to the main event, Justis Huni versus Fabio Wardley. Again, I look forward to this fight massively. I think it's going to be an epic fight. I really do. I don't think it's going to be as epic as it would have been had it been Jarrell Big Farmer Miller in there, because that really would have been something. But I think that Huni is the better boxer. You can see that. He's got the amateur pedigree. But he's hittable. Questionable gas tank. Maybe you could say the same about Fabio Wardley. He's never been any further down. Well, no, sorry, he has been the 12-round distance before. He went 12 rounds against Fraser Clark. Both men were equally fatigued in that, but Fraser Clark did a better job of disguising the fatigue. But he knows he can go 12. He knows he has that in his gas tank. So I'm looking forward to this fight. I am. It's going to be interesting to see Portman Road, all done under the lights. And for me now, this fight, as I said in the previous video, is a bit more interesting because the winner, I believe, will have to face the winner of Michael Hunter versus Kubrat Pulev. Both guys have seen better days, Hunter and Pulev. Well, I don't know about Hunter. Pulev, yeah, definitely. But Hunter, if you want to talk about disappointments, Michael Hunter is right up there. Because this is someone who, you know when you see a fighter and they have talent, and you see that they've wasted it, maybe Kell Brook, never staying in shape, amongst other things, wasted talent and Kell Brook was a world champion, but he could have been so much more. All right, that's annoying. That's frustrating. When you see a fighter like Tyson Fury, who, a bit like Kell Brook, never kept himself in shape, liked, other things outside of the ring, and that didn't help him either. And you do kind of think like, that's held you back a bit or something like that. Or, a fighter is just, a bit of, he's talented, but he just wastes that potential because he lets other things outside the ring, get in on him. All right. That's not the case with Hunter. With Michael Hunter, it's a case if you had potential, you had talent, and you just made catastrophically bad decisions. Like, so bad, I don't know how, I truthfully don't know who was advising to do these things. I really don't. You had a fight with Hrgovic. You weren't going to make a king's ransom, but it could have opened the door. You could have won it. I think a lot of people would have picked him probably to be Hrgovic, given how Hrgovic is good, but that Hunter would have been interesting. Could have fought for a world title. You could have had step-aside money. You could have run the Saudi shows. You could have been doing what Hrgovic did. All right, minus the loss to Dubois. But you could have been doing that and making a lot of money. Instead, you went to Triller. You looked terrible against, was it Jonathan Rice you fought? And now you're fighting. Now you're promoted by Don King, for God's sake. It's just it just gets worse for Michael Hunter. I don't know how he's done it. I really don't. He was on Eddie Hearn shows, fighting in Saudi Arabia, in Monaco, and he'll fight in some leisure centre in Miami or Ohio, and probably Don King, God knows, he doesn't even get paid with Don King. So yeah, Michael Hunter is it's a frustrating one. It really is. And it's frustrating for many reasons, because I think he could have still made cruiserweight up until a few years ago and probably could have done a good run down there. But look, at the end of the day, it's his life at the end of the day. Moving on from that, Nonito Donaire is set to return to the ring this month, apparently. He is going to challenge for the WBA interim belt at 118 pounds in Argentina. I love Nonito Donaire. I absolutely love him. Nonito Donaire is one of my all-time favourite fighters. He is just... I love Nonito Donaire. I do. But I just think it's just time to sail off into the sunset. I believe anyway. I really do think he should. But let's wait and see. Maybe he fit 42. I mean, he's already the oldest bantamweight champion of all time, if I'm not mistaken on that one, when he beat Nordino Valle a couple of years ago. So yeah, look, let's just wait and see. Chris Billow-Smith has told Ring Magazine that he would love the chance to face WBC Cruiserweight champion Badou Jack next. He hopes that fight can happen. Badou Jack versus CBS. Badou Jack still has a little bit left in the tank. CBS has plenty left in the tank, and I think that would actually be a decent fight. Badou Jack is really the weak link at £200 at cruiserweight. Decent sized cruiserweight, to be fair, Badou Jack is, and you'd never think he was a 168 pounder at one stage. But I do think he is the weak link. He's just kind of doing his thing. Fights on some of these Saudi shows, so has CBS has fought on a Saudi show. He did it on that Latino night back in November. So yeah, I think that could be a fight that they potentially look to do in the future. The only problem is that, was it Badou Jack or who was it who mentioned Jake Paul? Oh God, no, please. Frank Warren has told the Ring magazine that he expects Denzel Bentley to fight for a WBO world title before the end of the year at middleweight. He said Yalabek's last fight was a voluntary, so now we expect that we will now have his mandatory next. Denzel has been patiently waiting in the top spot, so now we should find out what the time frame is and everything. So Denzel Bentley, it looks to me as though he is actually going to get a rematch with Yalabek and Liam Clooney. I don't necessarily know if that's going to end well. Although saying that, when I say end well, I don't mean is he going to get knocked out or anything like that. I don't mean it like that. I just don't think he can beat Liam Clooney. He was very good first time, very good, but I'm not seeing it. I'm not really seeing it this time. But let's wait and see. All right, one of the big talking points of this week has obviously been Jaime Munguia and his failed VADA test. That's what we're going to call it. I know they call it an adverse analytical finding. That's what they call it. But realistically, we know exactly what it is. It's a failed PED test for whatever we do not know. Now, the problem I have with this, it's another one. Another one bites the dust. How many is it now? Is it Oscar Valdez? Is it Canelo? Is it Jaime Munguia? Is it just what's going on in that team? And what's going to be done about this? At the end of the day, that card's about a month old now. We're only really finding out now. And what are they going to do about it? What are VADA going to do? What are WBC going to do? What are we going to do about it? Because this is happening way too much. And as me and Ade have said, the punishments in a sport like athletics is serious. Like, you could be talking your career is done by the amount of the time you're banned from, right? In boxing, listen, he might not fight until May next year. And then he could be out in a big show, everyone would have forgotten about it, and that's that. For me, it's just BS, it's just BS. Like, I don't get this. Why can't we just have proper protocols in place where if you do fail, it's a serious ban or it's a serious fine? We talk about withholding their purse, and I don't think rationally you can actually do that. But you could just fine them the purse. How much do you make for your last fight? 1 million. How much is the fine? 1 million. There you go. Cough it up. That's probably cash is the only way you'll deter these fighters from doing it, if you hit them in the pocket. And I know some people could say, oh, well, you're hitting them in the pocket by not letting them fight. Yeah, true. You are doing that by not letting them fight. But I think that just hitting them directly with a give us your purse, that's a bigger hit. So I think that's something that they may potentially, and I say potentially, they may need to look at visiting sometime in the future, because again, as I say, this just seems to be happening way too much now. It really truly does. In terms of other news, how can I actually forget this? So it was announced during the week. So Anthony Joshua is in the comeback phase. So we know we're going to get Anthony Joshua in the ring at some point this year. It's probably going to be late October, maybe November, most likely, just given the dates we're hearing from Eddie Hearn. Anthony Joshua clearly has had surgery done on his elbow, because as you can see, there's footage of him. I don't know, where is he, in the Middle East somewhere or wherever. But he's obviously hitting the pads. He's only got a glove on one hand. He's not allowed to throw with the other one because obviously there's a problem there. So it's going to be it's going to be a couple of months. But we are likely to see him in the ring again this year anyway. And the talk is now that he's signing a 2-fight deal, not a 3-fight deal, a 2-fight deal with Riyadh Season and Turki Al-Sheikh, which does actually make a lot of sense, because Anthony Joshua, a 3-fight deal, that could carry him into 27 potentially. And Anthony Joshua has spoken that he wants 2026 to be stick a fork in it. That's the year it's done. So it does make sense. Dylan White and Jared Anderson are the two names for his next fight. Dylan White, me, makes sense. Jared Anderson, not really. Dylan White is shot to bits. Should be a straightforward win for AJ. Anderson can blow hot or cold. He blew very cold last time. But when he blows hot, could be a problem. So I don't know if that's necessarily... Turki Al-Sheikh has been caught out a few times with these cards. Thinking ahead, get by this guy, they don't get by them. So I would be I'd be a bit worried about that one, to be honest with you. And then you would imagine it's going to be Tyson Fury, who he faces. Eddie Hearn has mentioned the winner of Dubois versus Usyk. I've no doubt in my mind if Daniel Dubois wins that fight, they'll straight away go for it. They'll straight away do it. There's no doubt in my mind that's what's going to happen. But if it's Usyk, I don't know what they do a trilogy fight. I don't know if I think if you can get AJ to look good in a comeback fight, you could still sell the AJ Dubois rematch. You could sell that. I don't think you can sell AJ Usyk again, especially if he beats Dubois again. You're just kind of like, what's the point? You know, you probably have a better chance of selling a Fury trilogy fight with Alexander Usyk than you would a AJ Usyk trilogy fight, in my opinion. So I'm wondering what the game plan is, what the plan moving forward is. But let's wait and see. At the end of the day, 2-fight deal. Likely those are the final 2 fights of AJ's career, which is sad to think of because I've seen pretty much all of his pro fights live, not in person obviously, but watched them. It'd be sad to see him leave, actually. It really would, genuinely would, actually. So that's Anthony Joshua. We'll finish it, because we're talking about Turkey, we'll finish it like this. Teofimo Lopez is a damn fool. Alright? And I could probably finish it there and everyone would agree with me. You wouldn't even need context. But he's been having a go again at Turki Al-Sheikh. Apparently he was meant to go and fight Devin Haney, or that's what they were trying to do for August. 145 pound catch weight, and he's throwing his toys out of the pram, as he so often does. Man is an absolute something. Not a likeable character. And when you are having these issues, you let your managers talk about it. You let your people talk to their people. You trash it out, you come to an go. You don't take to Twitter to start biting the hand that feeds you. That's not a good idea. And even if you apologise to Turkey, even if you mend this bridge, he ain't going to do you any favours when it comes to fight night, is he? Think. Do you ever hear the saying, box smart? Teofimo Lopez, maybe in the ring he boxes smart, but outside the ring, boy does he... I don't even think he even understands that flipping sentence outside the ring, to be honest with you. So that's my thoughts on that. In terms of everything else, I think we've gone just over the 20-minute mark there, so I hope you enjoyed Review of the Week for another week. People, as always, I much appreciate you locking in. Thank you so much, as always. It's greatly appreciated. The support on here has been amazing. The show we're doing with Ade. We were meant to be in person last week. Cameraman had other ideas, but we will be back in person this week, and I am in the process of redoing in here. It's probably not going to be this week, probably more so next week or the week after, but most likely the week after, because Friday I head home for a couple of days. I head home for 5 days to Dublin on Friday. I go home once a month and sometimes twice a month, but this is my once a month. I'll only get home once in June, and I'll get home probably once in July, maybe. Well, no, definitely in July, but maybe once, maybe twice if I'm lucky. But yeah, this is my monthly visit home. So I'll be doing a watch along, I'll be catching up with friends, and I'll be just enjoying myself having a break. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Smash the like button if you break from London, not YouTube obviously. I've never had a break. Don't need one. Love doing this. I'll talk to you, well, at some point throughout the day. For now, I'll leave it there. Peace.